Okay, so this is just a quick follow-up to looking at the cast rule to determine a second angle in 0 to 360 degrees. I had somebody ask following the last video kind of when we know that we're using the 180 versus the 360. So I'll link to the original video down below. And then this is just kind of dealing with that 180 versus 360 specifically. So given a question like any of these ones, our first step will always be to punch the value into a calculator to find our initial angle. In the first case here, we're going to get an initial angle of negative 30 degrees. And so essentially what that tells me is that is the calculator's answer to our question. The assumption here is in these questions we're looking for angles in the range 0 to 360. And so negative 30 is not really one of those answers. So what do? I look at the ratio that I'm given, in this case sine, and the sign of the term that I'm working on. And so I'm looking for the areas where sine is negative. Given our cast rule, everything is positive. All values, all ratios are positive up here. Sine is positive here, which leaves me with sine being negative in the third and fourth quadrants. And so the two angles that I have now are the angle that leads me to that butterfly line in the third quadrant and the angle that leads me to the butterfly line in the fourth quadrant. So how do I determine whether the 180 or the 360 is going to help me? Well, of course, this is the 180 right here. That's 180 degrees from my starting point. And this is 0 or 360 degrees on this line. And so when I'm working in the third quadrant, I'm going to go the full 180 plus another 30 to find the angle that I've got here. So in the first case here, one of the possibilities for x is that it's go past the 180 degree line another 30 degrees. And in the second case, the second value will be I didn't quite make it all the way back to the 360, so I have to back up 30 degrees. So 360 minus the 30 gets me a second angle of 330. Okay, looking at the other ones, when I punch this one into my calculator, I get 45 degrees. And so I've got a 45 up in here. I'm interested in cos being positive. Again, all ratios are positive up here, and cos is positive down here. And so 45 is my one angle. My other angle is, again, all the way around to the fourth quadrant. And so it's 360 minus the 45 because, again, I didn't quite complete the full circle. In the final one, I'm looking for tan being negative. Again, punching this into the calculator, I find that my key angle is 45. And now I'm looking for tan is negative. Everything is positive up here. Tan is positive here. And so the two spots where my negative tans are the second quadrant and the fourth quadrant. Fourth quadrant, of course, we've already talked about a couple of times. I didn't quite make it all the way to 360, but I'm close to that 360, so it's 360 minus the 45. In the second quadrant, I'm coming towards the 180, but I'm not getting all the way to the 180. So I'm close to the 180, but not quite there. My one angle will be this 135. Okay, so as far as, again, just this question specifically, if I'm right around the 180, so if I'm in the second or third quadrant, basically I'm dealing with the 180 and I'm not quite there, subtract a bit, or just past it, add a bit. When I get around to the fourth quadrant, of course I'm not quite at 360, so it's subtract a bit from it. First quadrant should never be an issue because it's just the angle that we get off the calculator, the angle that goes into the butterfly.